Well, moving into our next story of the day, we have a top vaccine expert that's been advising that healthy young people should not get the latest COVID-19 booster shot because, quote, there's not clear evidence of a benefit. I would like to point out, if you said this, I don't know, a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, you would be banned, censored, removed off Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, like all of social media for saying this very same thing. I mean, we've been saying this even about the vaccine, that it was first sold as, oh, you can't get sick, you're not going to be able to contract it, nor, spread it to anybody else. And that turned out to be a false lie. So you could contract it. It's just the symptoms aren't going to be as bad. You could spread it. So everything that was sold to us was basically just a bunch of baloney. So you have Paul Alfit, who's a director of the Vaccine Education Center at Children's Hospital Philadelphia, also known as CHOP, a professor of pediatrics at the Perelman School of Medicine at the University of Pennsylvania, and also a member of the National Institute of Health. Basically, this guy knows what the hell he's talking about. So Alfit is also one of the few vaccine experts, by the way, that's voicing caution regarding the new COVID boosters. And we need more people like this, not less. I mean, how many jabs are you supposed to freaking get? I mean, how many vaccinations had we had in the past where you just have to keep getting them? I don't know of many. But now all of a sudden you got to get boosters after boosters. And they're like, hey, oh, by the way, we're going to treat this basically like a flu shot. So it's not really a vaccination then. It's just a flu shot, basically. You're not actually getting rid of it or preventing it. You're just diminishing the symptoms that you may or may not get from COVID-19. Because again, some people aren't showing any symptoms at all. But they're going to keep pushing this on children. Moderna's mRNA booster shot was approved by the FDA for individuals 18 years or older, if you recall. And then you have the Pfizer from biotech, and their version was authorized for 12 years or older. And they're going to still push this upon kids. And by the way, it's not the Republicans or conservatives that are pushing this on kids. It's the Democrat Party and the progressive left, because they like pushing this kind of stuff. And it's so funny, right? Because in our first segment, we just had Karine Jean-Pierre go, oh, we're trying to separate the American people for basically big pharma. Trying to make big pharma as the evil ones. All the while, they're the ones that are pushing this whole agenda upon children and kids. And so you had Dr. Paul Offit going on CNN here and basically having a voice of reason, telling people that, hey, there's not really a good reason to get the booster shot because the evidence kind of shows that there's almost sometimes more risk getting the booster shot than reward from it. Let's go ahead and play this together.
Idea is there. The panel is meeting today. It's likely that they're going to recommend, right, this booster that does specifically target Omicron. So when people are trying to understand the difference, how do you explain it to them?
Well, here's what I would say. I think the question is who really benefits from another dose. I mean, the CDC has shown that people who've gotten 3 doses are generally are less likely to be hospitalized than those who got 2, and those who got 4 were less likely to be hospitalized than those who got 3. But who are those people? Who are those people who are getting hospitalized? It really falls into 3 groups. One is the elderly, meaning people over 65. 2 is people who have the kind of serious health problems, say chronic lung disease, which when they get a mild or moderate infection, lands them in the hospital.
I just want to pause it there because if you recall, everything again, he's just saying, you couldn't say like a year and a half, 2 years ago. If you said that you were most likely to be severely at risk to dying from COVID-19, if you had 4 or more comorbidities, you were most likely going to die or be severely, severely hospitalized. And you were censored, removed, deplatformed off all of social media, even though it was a fact. And people were like shaming you for saying a clear fact. But now you can come out 2 years later and say the obvious. And remember, folks, we were all conspiracy theorists about this stuff. Everything that we said was false. And now look whose screen you're looking at. This is CNN. The people that said we were all conspiracy theorists for saying the exact same crap that this guy is saying. It is so baffling from these progressive left that don't know crap. And now all of a sudden, everything that we just said 2 years ago is coming to fruition and being true.
Hospital. And 3 is people who are immune compromised. I think what the advisory committee is going to be voting on later this afternoon is are we going to allow distribution of the Moderna vaccine for everybody over 18, of the Pfizer vaccine for everybody over 12? And what I fear is that they're going to say everybody should get it when in fact a healthy young person really is unlikely to benefit from a booster dose. And so I hope they target it more specifically to those really who are most likely to benefit from this additional dose.
So if they don't, because right now as it stands, if you are 50 and over, or if you have, a pre-existing condition, yes, you could be eligible, but otherwise, as you point out, younger people are not. If it is in fact authorized, Pfizer would be authorized for 12 and up, as you point out, Moderna 18 and up. Why not get it, right? If it does give you, even if it's a smaller benefit, is there any reason not to get the booster?
I think when you're asking people to get a vaccine, I think there has to be clear evidence of benefit. And we're not going to have clinical studies, obviously, before this launches, but you'd like to have at least human data. People, getting this vaccine, you see a clear and dramatic increase in neutralizing antibodies.
Did you just hear what he said? We're not going to have clinical data. We're just going to throw this out here like we did with all the other vaccines. Nothing to prove that it's actually going to work. Nothing to prove that it's actually going to benefit you. But hey, we're going to throw it out there to the American people, and not just the American people, but your children. And that's the main focus they want here. And if you recall, he just said, it's not really going to be a benefit for children. We've been saying this since COVID came out. We've been saying that children aren't at high risk. The data points were freaking basically zero. They weren't exactly zero, okay, folks? But they were so low of somebody under a certain age passing away or being severely hospitalized from COVID-19. Yes, it happened, but severely zero practically, okay? So it's just, again, I know I'm repeating myself. It's just so baffling that, again, we've been saying this for 2 years, and CNN said we were crazy, and now you got a guy on here saying the very same things that we were saying 2 years ago, and he's not crazy. And CNN's not crazy for pushing it. No, they just don't, there's no hypocrisy here. There's no connection. There's like no mirrors in CNN for them to see what they were just pushing for 2 years to compared to what they're talking about now. Baffling.
And then at least you have a correlate of protection against BA4, BA5. Because if you don't have that, if there's not clear evidence of benefit, then it's not fair, I think, to ask people to take a risk, no matter how small. The benefit should be clear.
It's just so remarkable. Like, speaking logic, saying the same thing that Republicans been saying for freaking 2 years. All of a sudden, it's just an accepted viewpoint. Well, folks, on September 21st, Offit actually wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, and he titled it CDC Oversells the Bivalent COVID Shot. And he said the CDC recommends that everyone over 12 receive this COVID-19 vaccine as a booster dose, but only a select group are likely to benefit from it, and the evidence to date doesn't support the view that the vaccine containing Omicron or the subvariants is better than the monovalent vaccine. The CDC risks eroding the public's trust by overselling the new vaccine shot. Look, they lost a lot of the public's trust anyways for the way they pushed everything. I was for Anthony Fauci at the way beginning. And then he was like, hey, we're going to mask up 5 times. Take 80 booster shots. Okay? Excuse me, Senator. You quite frankly don't know what you are talking about. Okay, the highest paid government employee ever just completely shellacked the whole COVID-19 thing. And the CDC, the same as well. According to data, and this was just released on Thursday, so it's new data, an estimated 4.4 million Americans received the new booster. The figure represents approximately 1.5% of the U.S. who are eligible to receive the injection. Remember that there was like a whole racism thing too that was being pushed, that the vaccine itself was racist because supposedly minorities couldn't get it in the same way that other people could get it, even though it's basically free for everybody and people could go down and get it. They just weren't getting it, but it was just still racist regardless of people making their own decision whether to get the vaccine or not. And they just kept pushing this whole racist thing. I mean, just the sheer manipulation from the media on COVID-19 was mind-boggling. Mind you, I teach statistics. I'm not saying I know everything. I'm not saying I'm the all-knowing power, but I'm also not an idiot when it comes to stats. The sheer just blatant lying they were doing. I mean, you had more of a chance of dying going to work or to school every day than you do from dying from COVID-19. I mean, your survival rate was like 99.9%, depending on your age level, but you were still basically going to live if you got COVID-19, and they shut everything down. Whole global down, United States down, restaurants down, businesses down, people just shelling out their entire retirement plans to pay for their rent, their utilities, their employees, all this stuff, all because of a lie that the government was pushing. Now, I'm being very careful with my words here because I don't want to be banned off YouTube still, because if you say something wrong, according to the almighty social media, and they don't like what you say because it's not pushing a narrative they want, you know what they do with all of us Republicans? They censor us, they ban us, they remove us. So that's going on with what's the updates on the COVID-19 vaccine booster shot. If you want your 50th jab, that's not going to stop you from actually getting it. So Democrats, you just got to love the way that they govern. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.